just have them come up here and change the sheets again. Don't worry about how it happened. We're here at Goodspeed Performance in Scottsdale, Arizona, and it's a scorcher. It's exciting, but we have about 12, 13 cars here. Let's see if all of them on the dyno can add up to more than 500 horsepower together. So we're here at Goodspeed in Scottsdale, Arizona. This gentleman has come all the way from Florida, and when I first heard he was from Florida, I thought he was over 70. Absolutely. So now that I met him, I realize he's a young gentleman like myself. And why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Toni. I'm the owner of FA20Club out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Well, thanks for coming down. I appreciate it, and helping out the community with all this.
No problem.
So so now that you're out here and your primary business is in Florida, how many cars do you think you've touched and tuned since you've started with this?
On this platform, I think the last time I counted, I have worldwide over 200,
okay,
which is pretty good. The majority of them are honestly going to be NA. Force induction has taken off a little bit in about the last 6 months. Force induction, maybe about probably over 30 at this point, okay, which is, it's a good basis to kind of know what works, why it works, when it works well, and circumstances that it doesn't.
Why should people come to you? I mean, there's well, not a lot of tuners, but you have guys like Jeff Perrin, you have Visconti, you have a couple the other smaller tuners out there that are just stay local. Why would people come to you versus some of these other guys?
I don't consider myself better than a lot of tuners. It's just with this car, and because you're pretty much locked in with Ecutech at this point, you don't want to make a decision on somebody that can't support you. And when you pay for my services, everybody will tell you you get 100% back-end support response, and that's pretty much what you're paying for. I mean, you have the guys on the West Coast that are making power, you have the guys that are on the East Coast that are making power. If you have a local guy that's good with the software, by all means, go to your local guy. But if you don't have one, it's honestly, if you're gonna buy an e-tune, you're gonna want somebody that's gonna be there to support you.
I am with a very handsome gentleman. His name is, what's your name? Ryan, what's your do you have a tag or?
Nelsmeyer.
Nelsmeyer? Do you have like a human tag when you go into places to introduce yourself?
Pretty much just me.
Just
yeah,
you, okay. Well, he's here today with his 2013 Scion FRS. It's Vortech supercharged, running E85, and what else is done to it?
A flex fire system?
You got a flex fire system? Was it professionally installed?
It was not.
No, it wasn't?
Not even, no, I would definitely, unless you include alcohol as a professional installation method, I would
Okay.
definitely not count that.
So that's all you have done to it?
That is it. It is stock everywhere else.
How do you like it?
It's fantastic.
Anyway, he's already run on the dyno. I didn't get any footage of that, but you don't really need to see it because it's amazing. What kind of numbers were you running?
I don't know the actual numbers.
Oh, you don't?
I know it's somewhere in the 300s.
Okay.
They're a little busy, so we haven't seen the plot. So it's
Okay.
somewhere between, I'm assuming 300 and 400.
The only dyno, I've never broken a dyno, but I definitely clog a lot of toilets. So it's so there's different levels of performance. That's what we're here to talk about. So you have naturally aspirated cars with a host of exhaust modifications and more. We just got done doing an Innovate supercharger test with 91 pump gas and E85, and the differences were pretty stellar actually, more than I would have expected. But what's your feel on E85 out here?
That one's hard to answer.
Okay.
Well,
Are
it
you
was a lot
gonna-
easier to tune on that. We actually had a lot of problems with the 91. Apparently our fuel really is as bad as we joke about.
Okay.
We actually had a guy bring fuel up from Tucson, which is only about 2 hours away, and it's 91 as well, but the fuel comes from Texas.
Okay.
It's where their refinery or whatever it is. Ours comes from California. The guy that brought the fuel from Tucson took maybe an hour to tune, and the guy from the fuel locally in Phoenix took around 2 hours using the same base map.
Wow.
So
So
that's
fuel
pretty
is a
rough.
huge deal down
and
here.
the 85 was basically tuning the other one. It was much easier.
So basically, if you're modifying your car to the extent you are anybody here that's with forced induction, you're pretty much stuck running E85.
It depends. I mean, with the heat, it's pretty rough.
Okay. So, and I think that's a good closing point for this entire trip. And these cars, modern cars, it's all about tuning. It really doesn't matter what you're doing, and that's what I've started to learn through this entire process. It's not as easy as just bolting everything on. You got to work with guys like Toni who have some experience to be able to get you to that point. There's some work that goes into all of this, and you can see from the videos we're going to show you with the Innovate tuning how it started and how it progressed to the final tune for the kit. So if you've learned anything, I hope you have, and I don't think there's really anything out there with tuners right now in terms of FRS, BRZ world where somebody can go online and just see an interview with one of you guys. Like nobody's really talked to any of you guys to know like Visconti. Nobody's ever seen a picture of this guy. Jeff, he's kind of like, hidden out in his warehouse.
That's what it is. Most of us tuners, I mean, we're not really rock stars, so we don't really, it's one of those things. This is probably the first time publicly guys have seen me online or even tuning cars, because even if you see a video of me tuning a car, you never see me.
Yeah, you're
because
like
that's just not what I do. I tend to just keep my mouth shut and keep working. That's just, I've always done it.
Okay. Well, this is exactly what we're talking about. This is the guy that makes all this shit work. At the end of the day, you need this guy to make it all work, or it's going to go down the toilet. So I appreciate you putting all the hard work in, man. Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Mark.
Good luck in your business for sure. Thanks. SUPERCHARGER owner. You want to introduce yourself?
My name is Keith.
So I appreciate Keith doing a ride along rather, and we just got done with the dyno of his car, and we kind of saw the progression from the car on pump gas, 91 octane, to E85 switch, and the results were really impressive.
I've owned a few high horsepower cars. Currently I still do have a Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 8. Car puts down quite a bit of power on it, upwards of 700. So compared to this thing, it's a totally different world, but what this car is meant for, built from the factory, I mean, I think it's just a great car all around, and with this forced induction, it's brought it up a lot more to the point where I really enjoy driving the vehicle.
So that's a really weird comparison, because you're coming from a car that has 700 horsepower. How can you even stand driving this? What's the draw of this car?
It's not all about horsepower. I've learned that over the years of driving. I mean, I think a lot of people that think it's just about horsepower are kind of just ignorant to the fact of, you know, what this car itself is built for. You have your Mustang guys out there, Camaro guys that are always going to bash on it and say, you know, this car's not fast, basically, is what it is. But this car is not built to be, you know, a drag car, in my opinion. This car is very well rounded. It's very good for people that, you know, want to do some simple track time, have fun in it. It's very affordable, and the performance you get for the price, I feel, is a lot better than anything else out on the market. I'm not gonna lie. As far as in comparison to my Evo and, you know, power wise on that, I don't really have a problem driving this car with less power. It's more fun to drive, in my opinion, than driving that Evo. That Evo's great, it goes fast, but I can have a lot of fun, you know, daily drive this car, not worry about really any issues with it. Once you start getting into high horsepower range, you start running into problems, so. Especially being out here in Phoenix in this heat, we have 91 octane fuel as it is. A lot of it comes over from California, so you have a lot of different detergents and additives in their fuel already. So our 91, even compared to anybody else's around the country, is even a downgrade in my opinion. Having that on this car with no intercooler, I do feel plays a major factor in heat soak. In performance, we have seen the car pull up to 3 degrees of timing roughly, versus what it should with better, even 91 octane versus 93 in other states. So without an intercooler, I would, you know, definitely recommend anybody that's planning on buying this kit, once the intercooler option does come out, to go for that. I know it is going to be a little bit more money, but I mean, I think the longevity of your motor's life and how this car runs performance-wise even is going to be significantly better versus running the non-intercooled version. And I went into this knowing that it was non-intercooled, and I kind of wanted to test it out to see what it would do. And now that we have better parameter on it and know what we're looking at, for anybody else out there that wants to do it, I mean, if you can get the intercooled kit and you have the funds for it, I would definitely opt for it. As far as tuning, anybody out there is going to offer a base map. In reality, no two cars run the same no matter what. So my opinion is, you know, pay the tuner, find a good tuner, pay the tuner the time that needs to be there. Sometimes people think, you know, it's a little aggressive on pricing and whatnot, but it's worth the money. You're talking about your motor here. So, I mean, the tuning process isn't really too bad. It's relatively simple as long as you find somebody with experience that knows what they're doing. I mean, the kit base map does work from time to time. I noticed a little bit of things here and there which need to be fine-tuned out, which is why I would definitely recommend to just get that fine-tuned by a reliable source that has experience with tuning forced induction on vehicles, definitely.